That's so weak, but I don't want to clap loud. I don't want to like blow out anyone's ears. I'll do it over here. Welcome to the May edition of the Tough Love Arena State of the Game stream, where we talk about all things Tough Love Arena, past, present, future. I'm your host, one of the co-creators and developer, Paul Weeks. Thank you for joining us. Let's jump into the game. The past. What did we get accomplished in this previous month, which would have been April 2022? Well, we shipped a decent amount of stuff. I shipped a feature flags feature, which sounds a little redundant there. But for those who aren't aware, feature flags are a powerful tool that enable us to do sort of real-time deployment. Normally when I ship an update, or if I want to change anything about the game, it can take several minutes, up to 10, to propagate across all platforms, especially for our desktop and now Steam release. So if I need to do any quick maintenance, or if I want to experiment with features but know that they could be, temperamental, feature flags give us the ability to turn code on and off in real time. So for now, it's just a little thing that I have in as a tool in my toolbox in case like a server goes down. I can just disable that game mode with a explanatory message rather than just having it load forever. But I'm really excited about being able to leverage it more in the future. We add the pause menu, which is huge for me personally. It's crazy that you couldn't pause the game or exit a match without pressing the escape key for over a year. And so I know we still have a couple of weird edge cases. We've got a few in the bugs channel. I'm still ironing them out because this change intersects all modes of gameplay. But really excited about it, and it also unlocks more things going forward. Like we could add an easy reset positions button for training combos, or for combo trials, that kind of stuff. Some progress on loading screen, paying down some tech debt there. I continue to polish and rework what I'm now calling event mode, and this is what we used for our demonstrations of PAX. If anyone is running an offline event, I strongly recommend you use event mode. Feel free to reach out to me and I can give you some further advice, but it is full of little idiosyncratic features and non-features that I have learned through trial and error really help an offline experience go smoothly. I'm very excited that we finally added an attract mode. That is very nice when paired with the event mode. So you can leave TLA on a screen and it will start showing a little demo of gameplay. Fix some bugs for desktop. Fix some timeout stuff that affected modded characters mostly, and now our new changes. We had a big balance patch that I guess isn't included here, but we'll talk about a lot in a second. And of course we had PAX, the first real big offline event that both me and Amy went to. And it was tremendous. It was wonderful. We'll be going to more, not every month, but we do have Combo Breaker at the end of May. I'll talk more about that at the end. But it was so much fun. It was great to meet people. It was great to network with other developers. And yes, it's definitely something I want to do more of. And Steam. We finally got the Steam release out in early access. I have the desktop version working in Linux, but I just haven't been able to get it to work with Steam's launcher. But that is, it is viable, but doesn't seem very straightforward to fix, so I can't promise any deadline. So if you want to support the game financially, and if you want to have access to maybe some event skins that you missed, if you just joined the game recently and you really want to go on ranked or on casual match with that mummy noodle, check out our Steam release. And please continue to give us feedback and updates. We plan to add more little bonuses for Steam users. But for right now, for the bare minimum, you will get all event skins, past, present, and future. And if that's not clear, it's only when you're using the Steam release. So it's still worth entering the events for the convenience of being able to, play in the browser and have access to your skins. But if you want to use Steam, you'll have lots of fun things unlocked. This is my favorite photo from PAX. We have a bunch of great ones. We haven't shared any of them. We really need to organize and put them somewhere. But I want to at least include this one. This is my favorite. Me and Amy doing a little power pose. And this was Amy's idea that I couldn't picture when we were printing stuff out, but is so amazing to me. So obviously we have the big banner, and Amy was adamant about let's print out all these little memes. And I like just couldn't picture like what are we gonna do with these? Just like have a little binder full of memes for people to look at. But oops, no, Amy hung them all around the poster, and they were amazing, and they were people's favorite part. People would come up just to like take pictures of the memes. So thank you, mostly Discord, for giving us all those, and we will continue to keep the wall updated with any hot new items. And as I said, we are on Steam. This is what it looks like. We ended up releasing a little bit early. We'd originally projected for May 13th, but I got it working, and I got through the sort of Steam admin approval process faster than I thought. So we're out, and we already have a couple dozen purchases and 3 very nice reviews. So feel free to check that out. Our monthly survey. So I added a couple of questions at the beginning, and I will share the full survey results later this week, as per usual. But I added a couple of questions about this recent balance patch, version 0.91.0, because it was pretty big. And I'm very glad to see this feedback. This is only a couple of days in. People could change their minds, and I don't need all the players to necessarily agree with me. I feel very... I had strong convictions with my changes, but I also don't want to alienate the player base. So it's important to me that we're roughly on the same page, and as a sanity check for myself. And this is very validating to see. And our usual main 2 survey questions that I care about, or main 3 I should say, is that people still think the game's fun. They think it's very fun, and they're still very likely to recommend it to beginners, and more than likely to recommend it to experienced. These are my key metrics. Thank you for continuing to play the game. Thank you for continuing to answer the surveys. Let's talk about the present. One other thing for PAX. Me and Amy got a bunch. You can't see them there. We got a bunch of extra T-shirts, so I got this one. Yeah. Anyways, present. What's going on right now? Player count is up over 30% for April, if you compare April to March. I expect it to honestly drop a little bit. We got a wonderful big spike from a handful of things, from the feature in Combo Breakers Look Alive, from PAX East, and hopefully we'll continue to generate more buzz at the end of this month. But it was sick. No 2 ways about it. I don't want to sound already defeatist. We got some really solid numbers, and things are correcting a little bit now from my very cursory glance, but we're still doing very healthy, and it's so exciting to see growth a year and a half after release. You know what I mean? So anytime I do, it's really exciting. We got some really nice press coverage. I'm working on a place where we can link to that and make it really easy to share. But for now, if you just check our Twitter, look for sort of our retweets in the last 2 weeks. Some people at PAX wrote some very nice articles about us, so that was really cool. Steam is out, all the stuff I already talked about. And we're going to talk about gameplay. I'm not planning on making any balance changes this month. So you can rest easy on that front. You have at least until June. And because I also want to see, where the dust settles. But things to look forward to in the medium future, short to medium future, is alternate jump options. I thought that was a really fun experiment during April Fools, and I think that there's a lot of space in there for another place, kind of like the command normals I added to the carbs a few months ago. A design space that can fill this niche of, not breaking the simple design, not adding the complexity of, say, a 4th button, but sneaking something in there. So if people press forward special, they'll jump. But if they know to also then press back, maybe they'll get some cool other option that is, generally useful. So lots to tweak, lots to investigate, but I'm very excited to work on that. So let's talk about this patch, because a lot of people were excited, a lot of people were upset, and a lot of people were confused. So in my mind, I was accomplishing 4 goals. 1, reducing the overall damage of the game. 2, making the ambiguously punishable moves more explicit. 3, adding viable block string options other than light. And 4, cleaning up old craft. So let's go through those. And I'll let you read the bullet points. I won't read them all out loud. That's not interesting or useful. But basically, the damage has been creeping up. The game was already pretty high damage on launch, and it just keeps up. It keeps creeping up because we keep adding new stuff, and that's exciting. But I don't like the game is becoming really too touchy, if that makes sense. There's still defensive mechanics, there's still burst baiting, and I want the damage to be relatively high, but counter hit, I think, was probably a little too much, a little too swingy. I like the excitement. I like there being some tangible advantage, and my Canary Patreon testers know that I experiment with a handful of other options for keeping a bonus for counter hit without, totally nerfing into the ground. And the solution I wound up on is just, keep the damage, but just dial it back. So, but what was really important to me is to keep, like, a lot of classic combos, a lot of normal combos, still doing basically the same amount of damage. I see people in chat saying the Great Depowering too. I disagree. I think a lot of stuff, during Canary testing, a lot of us were calling this the Great Empowering. But if you think about it, if everyone's damage is lower, it's just like everyone got a health buff. So think about that. Goal number 2, making the ambiguously punishable moves more explicit. This is something I learned from watching beginners play a lot in person at PAX and playing with them myself, which is that people could grok. They could figure out that, oh, that third whip hit looks kind of punishable, or hey, that uppercut looks kind of punishable. But a lot of them didn't even think to try and punish Palm, and even if you did, it was really tight. It was like a 2-frame link to punish Palm, I believe. And then it don't work at certain ranges, or it deceptively would work at ranges when you wouldn't expect it to, because there was an invisible hurt box there. So I really tried to simplify that, make it as forgiving as possible when I wanted to be able to punish, but still keep places where it could be safe, and it would be more clear for both players when it would be safe. You can know, for example, that if you are a card player and you do light and then light again into swipe, that will be safe. That will always be an appropriate distance, right? Stuff like that. So this to me was a cleaning up, and I think, will make the game easier to understand and just more consistent. These are all good things. Goal 3, add a viable block strings other than LLL. This is another thing I realized watching beginners play in particular, and myself playing a lot against beginners, which is that if you want to do a block string in this game, it's usually LLL. That's usually the best option. Like LLL maybe end in a chip move at like max damage. And that felt very boring. And once I saw it at PAX, saw it over and over again, the more I started thinking about how much I've seen it in recent tournament footage, and how much I saw it in the replay Shiggy sent me, and just playing online myself, and it's the best option. It makes the most sense. And you gain meter as the attacker, you're constantly threatening throw or something else. And as a game designer, my job is to make sure that the optimal path is the fun path. And this is a case where I think, players correctly identified what the optimal path was. It was LLL, and I don't think it was fun. But you're not going to stop doing it, right? So it's my job as a designer to give you viable alternatives. So sometimes you could do something else, and maybe that'll be exciting, but not just because you're bored of L, right? Maybe because it could actually be good. So that is informed a lot of the sort of weirder or more changes that people were more confused about. And this didn't apply the same to every character. Some characters I thought already had, options. Some characters this applied more to than others. The heavy punch into gut punch, I know, introduces problems, introduces damage problems, introduces combo length problems. So it is not set in stone for me, but for now, I am looking forward to seeing if it accomplishes my goal of the pressure scenario being, hey, do I keep going for L and it's safe, and maybe I'll get a nice little confirm combo that does heavily scaled damage, or Do I throw in a spicy heavy at sort of a frame trap timing? Because if I can confirm the link afterwards, I get big damage. But if I guessed wrong and they block, well, now I gave up my turn, right? Like that stuff. That to me is an interesting tension that didn't exist before. Esid asks, why did you make it? And I try not to answer questions, but because this is pertinent, I think it's important to highlight. Esid asks, why'd you make it link instead of cancel? Exactly for that turn. If you go for the heavy at point blank because you want to do the big swag combo and they blocked it, you are now -2 or 4 or whatever it is. Your turn is officially over. Whereas if you could reverse beat, cancel it back into light, then there is no reason not to go for the heavy, right? You always reverse beat it into light, and now you're +5 or whatever it is. Or +1, +2, I don't even remember. But you're plus. So in order to create that tension of, you know, one of these is higher risk, higher reward, and one of these is safer but gets massive scaling, I couldn't use reverse beat. I did experiment with it. I did think about it. And lastly, cleaning up old cruft. Oftentimes there'll be a system change, like when I add or remove chip damage, and then I'll have to change, you know, swipe to behave a little differently because I added back in chip kills. And then I remove chip kills, and I'm like, and I forget to change swipe back, right? That happens sometimes. So on that front, we had a couple of things like that. Teleport's hitbox is really an artifact of when the Rice Noodle matchup was unwinnable for Rice. That probably sounds strange to people who have played in the last 3 months. But Noodle used to have an oppressive advantage over Rice. And so Rice Teleport was a weird Hail Mary. Maybe Rice can do this to get out of a bad situation, or YOLO RC into a combo. That is no longer an issue with the matchup. And Teleport Hitbox introduced a lot of other weird stuff. So I was happy to remove that. So again, these are, I'm really excited about these two, and people can feel free to correct me if I'm missing anything. But I made a big push a couple of months ago to try and standardize what was rapidable, and to try and make as many things rapidable as possible, because it felt like there were really arbitrary rules for what you could and couldn't rapid. And now I think the rules are basically pretty clear. You cannot rapid 5L, you cannot rapid jump attacks, and you cannot rapid reversals on block. But you can rapid basically everything else. And that just makes the game simpler. Free win. Future. So that was the balance patch. Feel free to check the VOD and read the slides if you're interested. Also happy to talk about it in the Q&A. But people seem pretty jazzed on it based on the this slide. And always continuing, you know, we'll always continue to update things. If anything's broken right now, it won't be for long. But I'm really excited about some of the trends here. And a lot of these changes I don't see as being as anything I'm going to roll back immediately. You know, health values, those could be debated. The heavy punch link could be debated. But a lot of this other stuff just feels like a clear-cut improvement. And I'm really excited for that. So let's talk about the future. Okay. So, Combo Breaker! We gotta full screen this. There it is. Tough Love Arena will be at Combo Breaker May 27th through 29th at the end of this month. It's gonna be hype. Paul and Amy will be there. And I trust Amy will be sharing this art somewhere soon. But this is the sneak peek. It is very cute. I love it. Amy continues to outdo themselves. Some more details. We will be in Artist Alley. Not like a vendor space, or we don't have any tournaments or side tournaments planned because I am not going to have the time to run them. But people are more than welcome to try and get something started. But we will be in Artist Alley with 1, 2, or 3 laptops, however much I can fit on the table. And for the first time, we're going to be offering some official merch. Aside from the Redbubble store, we're mass producing some stuff that we can bring in and sell much cheaper. We're currently planning on prints, stickers, and buttons. So if you have some spare pocket change and you're in the neighborhood, come by, get a picture with us, and buy a cute little button. Yeah. There will be a new dev stream schedule. I don't know if I've said the same word explicitly out loud, or if I've just been saying it between the lines, but because me and Amy try not to talk about our personal lives too much, but I am back to full-time employment. I was doing some side gigs for the last year-ish, and I've picked back up a full-time job. So I will still be working on Tough Love Arena, but it is going to be back how it was in early 2021, when it was more of a nights and weekends thing. So accordingly, dev streams cannot be Tuesday and Thursday. That's the middle of my workday. So I will be moving them to tentatively Monday and Thursday night. Mondays will be replaced by State of the Game. So for this week, there is no Monday stream. This is it you're watching right now. But I should be here on Thursday night, and we'll play this by ear. That's my current guess for the nights that'll be best for me. It might become Monday, Wednesday. It might become just Monday. I might try to do weekends. It all just depends on how things scale out and how my new schedule works out. And I know in the past when we did nights, we did Monday, Friday, but I didn't like how much we collided with TLG, and I don't want to take away from that. I don't want people to, turn off TLG because my stream started, or vice versa. So I'm leaving Friday to Shiggy, and we'll fill in some other nights with dev streams. I'll be updating the Twitch schedule, but otherwise you can check for the latest times on the events website, and we'll definitely be plugging this on Twitter. And if you're in our Discord, you can add the @StreamRoll in the Rolls channel. It's one of the main announcement intro ones, and then you'll get added every time I go live, which is not very often. And finally, the made to do. What am I doing this month? Well, the two things at the top of my list are fixing a few urgent bugs with Steam. They've turned out to be pretty minor so far, like little weird visual glitches with icons and shortcuts and stuff. I've got a infrastructure issue that came up where the game is running smooth, but if you want to see the details, join the Patreon. But that will be my focus probably this coming week. We are prepping for Combo Breaker. That's taking a certain chunk of both mine and Amy's time. It takes time for Amy to, draw this beautiful, beautiful art. And launching a new informational site. If you tuned into the dev stream on last Thursday, I think you would have seen me working on this, but I'm very excited for this. I've noticed over the last 2 years, as I've made a bunch of sort of external sites for TLA, there's too many of them now. It's hard for people to discover them. They have lots of sometimes not very intuitive URLs, and it's needlessly complex. So I'm looking forward to condensing that and having a home for other stuff that never really made sense to go anywhere else, like links to these nice articles about us, or links to the Will It Kill videos that feature us with a timestamp, that kind of stuff. We can also have a more dedicated link to community resources, rather than having to embed it in the game, where it's harder to update and we can't really fit it on a mobile screen. The game is the game, and we're going to keep a lot of stuff in the game because I love having a lot of the resources inside the game, like frame data. But I think a lot of stuff, it makes sense to move to just a real website, which you can view as a real website in portrait mode and scroll, right? So very excited for that. We've already basically got it working. It just needs a bit more polish and a bit more cleaning up, and then it will be the one-stop shop. And that's it. It is time for Q&A. So I'm going to drink my water, and I will start reading questions now. After where Horse said, "Hey, I'm a community resource." I will not be scrolling up in chat, so if you leave your questions starting now, I will give it a look. And when we run out of questions, we'll end the stream. Let me switch over to the Q&A cam so you can see all of my pores. Oh my god, so many questions. Okay. Okay. Witten Frigus says information site Steam release. Very funny. Shiggy says very cool about the information center. Yes, I'm personally very excited. Some of the pages already look pretty slick, and I can see that my camera's glitching a little bit, but it hasn't frozen, so I'm not going to bother dealing with the unplug. So apologies for that. Yes, very excited to share it. Because often we'll be I realize the need for it when we've been applying for these events, and I'm filling out the application for Combo Breaker, and they say, do you have a website for us to learn more about you? And I'm like, toughlovearena.com. And in fact, in the like PAX approval process, they emailed us being like, what is this? I'm like, it's the game. That's us. And they're like, okay, well, can you give us other information? So it's not great for that use case. It'd be great to have a separate thing just for information, for contract, for marketing, whatever else. Table Rice asked Paul, can you make a preemptive tier list for this patch? Sure. There's gotta be one of these, right? Tier list maker, Tough Love Arena. Oh, I gotta switch back over to this view. Okay. My hunch is Zoop, Boop, that is my hot take. I expect the meats to be the strongest. I think for pretty obvious reasons. They've gotten some nice gifts, they got more health, and neither of them were terrible before. Onion hasn't fundamentally changed, and was already a very strong character. If anything, everyone else's reversals were nerfed to match Onion's. Garlic has gotten slightly better. Rice has gotten, I think, overall very slightly worse. Some things definitely got better, in my opinion. I think that it's much easier for them to convert off a stray light attack, and to do some of that more safely, but obviously they lost the teleport hitbox, they lost some health, etc. And Noodle has been pretty... The consensus has been that Noodle's been probably the weakest character in this patch, which I'm okay with, because if Soup is OP, that's probably not good for the game. But I still think Noodle is viable, but they definitely got hurt with the Frenzy nerf. So you can still use Frenzy in the very swag combos, you can do some really cool stuff, but the yellow Frenzy into 600 in the corner is thankfully no longer a thing. Moving on. Shiny Ninja says, I forgot to mention this in the player poll. What if you gave Palm a juggle of 2? This can make Palm RC have more thought put into it. The only good ender for Palm RC is jump, but have a juggle of 2, then you could do 5H5H for Oki. The second plus of damage. If you Palm RC into 5H5H, you're left punishable. That's not a bad idea, Shiny Ninja. That's worth exploring more. Please drop that in feature requests. Number 2, when is the TLA documentary coming out? According to Esteban's public Twitter, I believe sometime May/June/July? You all don't know anything that me and Amy don't. Let me put it that way. 3, how are the onion sprites? They're looking silky smooth. So far, I have seen, and you can see this on the chart, another thing that's proliferated into its own website that needs to be consolidated. Let me pull it up. This is the current onion chart. And in that finished, Amy can correct me if I'm wrong, but I won't see the correction for a while because I'm scrolled up in chat. Amy has finished at least Flick, Sweep, and Roundhouse. And they all look very good. They look very good. So, look forward to that. Okay. Back to the questions. Blue Icy says, you mentioned issue with 5H into 5L with meats. Does this have something to do with the difficult TOD that Phil said is possible? If that's the case, why not make 5H plus 6 instead of plus 7? That will allow no room for microwalks, so the TOD would never happen. We went over this a lot in the Canary testing stage. My general rule with these cancels is to give you, I want to make them as wide as possible, and same for punish windows. I want to make them as permissible as possible up until enabling an interaction I don't like. So for example, that advantage was originally plus 9, which is 1 frame short of letting heavy punch cancel into itself. Because once you could do that, that's very degenerate. But if it's plus 9, that just gives you as much room as possible to link into gut punch. And that's how a lot of things work. That's how the chap link works. However, people thankfully found in testing that, yeah, you could do some micro walks if you had a full plus 9 to link your 5 frame startup attack. Whereas the spacing normally would have given you like, this early in testing it would have given you 2 reps. If you did micro ops, you could get 3 reps. And so it was a back and forth of trying to nerf it down to make the, and like you could pretty consistently, like I could do it within a handful of tries, and you know, that's saying something. So I totally trust that a really good player could consistently do the micro walk and then have access to damage that I didn't want those characters to have, because they're doing that every loop. So 7 seemed like a good compromise of still a decent amount of buffer, so it's not very tight, but tight enough that micro walks are prohibitively difficult or at least, you know, inconsistent. And that's currently where we're at. If people start pulling off micro walks consistently in tournaments, then I'll look into making it plus 6. But that's my thought process. And if Phil did refer to a TOD, I'm pretty sure that was during the testing phase when it was plus 9. And honestly, before a lot of other stuff changed. That would have been, I think, before the counter hit nerf. So with the old counter hit and micro walks, you could do TODs. ICL says, hey Paul, loving the Notebook stage. When's Notebook stage 2 coming out? Nothing, I can't give too much away, but we are working on a new stage with new music. So we'll hopefully have something more to say about that in the next 1 to 10 months. For a second I thought something was wrong with the music or wrong with my headphones. Okay. Esid says, do you think 50 life really adds enough? I originally wanted to be bolder. I was sort of talked out of it. But to me, this is sort of the beginning of a... I'm experimenting with this tool before I get too crazy with it, which is using health as a balancing mechanism. So we need to see what the edge cases are. We need to see how bad it feels. But yeah. So 50 seemed like a safe starting amount, and these are the directions that I wanted it to go. People responding to my tier list. Are you planning? Esid asks, are you planning to add jump for each pair or each character? That is a very valid question, and I'm just not sure yet. Ideally, I'd love to add a unique one for each character. But because some of them, I think it, like Noodle benefits from Helicopter because they can combo into Helicopter from Frenzy. I don't know if Rice would have a use for Helicopter, right? Likewise, Pork could really use the empty jump for Caber. I don't think Beef really needs the empty jump, or wouldn't use it as much. So it makes sense to make it character specific. It's just a matter of, do I have enough viable and interesting ideas? Do I have 6 ideas that I can use and it's okay if I have to repeat one or two, especially if it's maybe across characters. That would be the only reason I repeat them, is if there isn't enough design space, essentially. But this is all hypothetical. I haven't touched it since April Fool's. It's just something on my to-do list. People calling my takes boiling hot. Very cool. Amy says, imagine literally ranking your children. Oops. You're right, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. It's okay, I'll delete the VOD. Amy asked Paul, can you say something cryptic about pinball? Yes. There will be not major news, not like something crazy that's about to drop. But if all goes according to plan, there should be something very neat dropping tomorrow. Something neat. So I think Amy will share it when it's live. But it's neat. So get hype. Blue Icy asks, have you ever considered motivating the players to use ranked more? The plaid skins exist, but I don't think most casuals know how to get them in the first place. Yes, part of that, Blue Icy, is I have the plan. This is near the top of my to-do list, especially now that Steam is a thing, to explain how to get the skins. Whereas right now you can't see skins you can't use, which was the original idea because I didn't want to give unnecessary FOMO. But now you can use all the skins in some offline modes. So my new plan is you will always see all the skins. But if you can't use it, it will be grayed out with an explanation. So the event ones will say, you will have gotten this if you played in the event or if you buy Steam. And likewise, the plaid ones will say you have to hit X points in ranked. So that's mission number one, is that can be more clarified. I think it's an FAQ, but it will be in the game and much easier to find. Issue number 2, I still have plans on expanding ranked ranges and integrating it with the casual queue so casual players can fight against ranked players. Or just making it easier for people to queue for both. There's a lot to be done there. But stuff keeps coming up, like Steam release or like offline events or big balance patches that end up preempting the work. But I'm still very much planning on doing that work. I'm very excited for it. Young Strike says, question, Paul. I know you added more hit stop to reject to lessen the problem, but I still think it being too fast and resulting in accidental buffering of options after being rejected still happens a bit. Would you be open to adding a slowdown effect on reject without affecting its frame data? Like the reversal shift from SF5 to make more visible. A slowdown is interesting and not something I considered. We don't have anything right now that slows the game down, but it wouldn't be too out of the question to add. Can you add that to feature requests? And I'll look into it. Yeah, the problem is I want both players to be able to see it's happening, but I don't want it to be as reactable as something like burst, or else people will just pause their block strings and, like parry or frenzy the rejection or something. So slowdown could be an interesting, especially if I just like slow down the second half, that could be a really interesting compromise. So, good idea. Esid says, why not just have meat heavy cancel into light only on hit? Honestly, I think that would be probably harder to confirm, because it'd be so fast. And also, this is another reason I was happy to change sweep trip into an all contact cancel, because anytime you have hit only or block only cancels, it leads to OSs. Regardless of whatever I intended or how I try to design, an OS can be born. And there's a big difference. The chop cancel is necessary if you want to pick up damage on reversal with pork, right? The chop link. The trip link with spices is necessary for a lot of their decent combos. You don't need this link with meat, right? You can do the old combos. They're not optimal, but I am much more open to exploring space like that. Sure, we can have this execution check for the advanced players, but it only adds what, like 2 hits per loop. It's, you know, it's free damage. You want to take it if it's there. But I think a video by Core Gaming by Gerald Lee highlights this. In SF4, if you hit someone with reuse Forward Fierce, the solar plexus, it was like +5 or something, and that game didn't have buffering on normals. So you could either go for the link, the pretty difficult link, into like light or crouching heavy to get a conversion, or you could just mash DP because special moves did have an input buffer. And that was still, you know, a 3-frame move and a 5-frame link, but it was easy because of the buffer. And players could basically choose, do I want the guaranteed damage, or do I want the skill check? But either way, you're still getting damage, and the skill check didn't add too much. And I'm okay with adding those scenarios to the game. But they need to be, it's hard to do that in a way that doesn't, like, really explosively change what the output is. And, you know, if you can't do X-Link, but that's like your juggler, then you just don't get like half the combo right. So I'm okay with this link being a little tight because it is very, you can just fill it in, plop it in wherever you want. But if you're trying to close out a round, maybe you'll just go for the easy version, right? Horson asks, will Noodle is going to fist you every return? Unlikely, but never say never. The new stage is set in packs. Yeah, maybe if they pay us. I know I said pork, but I heard work. I tripping all over my words. Not used to talking to stream. Who works the workman? Okay. Can't wait. Shy Ninja says, can't wait for Garlic to jump and then cancel into Sneak. Yeah, and then RC the Sneak. Oh. Pinball enjoyers. Table Rice asks, Paul, what do you think about characters being able to DAC, which is delayed attack cancel, off of 5L and create a gap? Carbs can do 5L twice into whip, splash, or swipe. Spices can do 5L into roundhouse, and meats can do 5L into heavy punch, but with a very tight timing. Also, if Garlic is going to be able to get a really nice reject bait option in sweep dash, Pork and Noodle can bait it with RC into armor. And parries can also do it with incredibly strict timing that can be baited with delayed reject. Can reject baiting be more universal? Okay, 2 ideas here. DAC, I will admit, I don't think a lot about DAC. And there are some cancel timings I was thinking about tightening up a little bit. So I'm okay with them in general. I'm really okay with them coming off of lights because, in my opinion, after you block a light, you're supposed to block, right? They are plus. If you're pressing buttons, that's on you, right? Wait for the heavy attack. Then you can press buttons. But I know other places where they can create, you know, these mix-up situations that may be more or less desirable, like whip into whip pounce. But I will admit it's a very underexplored area for me that I just haven't put in the time in the last couple months to like really look at and look where it currently exists in the game. But feel free to remind me about it in the future when I'm back into balancing and not working on other stuff. As for the reject counterplay, can reject baiting be more universal? That is a reasonable request. Yeah, so basically you're saying everyone currently has an option except for Rice, and some options are obviously more consistent than others. It's not the most urgent to me because I do... Reject is not as strong as Burst. Burst gets you out of combos. So you can bait it because you're giving up something very powerful when you bait a Burst, right? You are giving up damage. If you are baiting the burst, as people often do in tournament sets, and they don't burst, well, congrats, you just left 200 damage on the table. Whereas baiting in a pressure scenario isn't as meaningful to me. So I'm not really concerned about making sure that's punishable. The fact that some characters can is, I think, a cute idiosyncrasy of matchups. But again, not really high priority for me. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request, but it's not something that I believe currently needs attention. Shiggy, yes, asking slowdown is different than RC time stop. Yes, time stop is very explicit. Your opponent is frozen. They cannot do anything for X frames. I think it's 20. Same thing for parries. On the parry frame, your opponent's frozen out for like 10 or 20 frames. So the slowdown effect would be to do it every other frame or every third frame for X duration, which is not too much work to add into the system. Like, the system already supports slowing down some players or slowing down both players in the case of hit stop. So I just need to add another concept of like slow down every other. ICL asks, what is Pork's cannon height? You'll have to ask Amy. Young Strike says, response to you saying no slowdown is in right now. You can use like the freeze other thing, but what, 1 frame on, 1 frame off. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's theoretically possible. It shouldn't be too much to add, but to add it in a way that's like easy to engineer would take a little bit of work. ICL says one of the 4 sprite be available in modding. No response. Blue Icy asks, why did Chop get so much scaling? I universally made all of the reversal starters add a lot of scaling. So Frenzy, Chop, Flex, and Cackle. Now I'll add additional scaling when they start a combo, and only when they start a combo. To make reversals less swingy, basically. I know Pork can't do it on Wake Up like a lot of other characters, but still the feeling of I'm about to close the match, and I'm plus, and then oops, they pressed the Chop button and now I lose. That I want to mitigate a little bit. Amy says the new stage is set in Raid Shadow Legends. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm not reading that. Copy pasta. Copy pasta. Blah, blah, blah. Seashells. Siblis. You're only minus of... I'm not going to say that, Kung Fu. Blah, blah, blah. Almost caught up on chat. Table says, if DIC off lights is fine, then can the Meat 5L DIC be experimented on to be easier to do? I was able to really get it too consistently in training mode. Also, please be cautious when lowering the DAC window on Carb 5H. Rice's entire game plan revolves around the threat of Swipe being a safety offset off of 5H. That is fair. I'll take that into consideration. Yes, Shiggy, there is a freeze other, but the issue is it'd be easier to engineer. The problem with doing... It'd be easier to engineer it into a scenario where, like, on contact, it adds this to the entire game. Because if I try to, like, bake it in... If I try to put it on freeze other, then how does that interact if the reject hit whiffs? Do we still want to slow down there? And if so, will that be weird? Again, it could theoretically be possible with the current tools, but it would probably be a huge pain. And I'd have to, like, manually set every other. And would be much better if you could just put in, like, a block of, hey... during this frame, which lasts 5, slow down. So run everything at half speed, right? That kind of stuff. Amy says 7 feet. That's Pork's height. Oh, apparently we have the heights in the lore channel pins. Thank you, Kung Fu Fawan. Kung Fu Kafwan. Dab says DACs and staggers are very important pressure tools. Don't remove, please. I'll definitely be careful about removing that stuff. Thank you for the emojis. Oh, that was a crazy camera glitch. Next patch, Paul just removes carves. No! Neil's probably my favorite character right now. Is Neil the blue or do they just reflect the sky? Is onion red from color or bloodlust? Okay. Sounds like chat's out of questions. This has been a fun stream as always. Last chance. Table Rice asks, can you make a favorite characters tier list? Ooh. I'm pretty sure Amy just told me something about like not ranking my children. But it's very tempting. I would say okay. This is my I personally have fun playing with tier list. It is sorted within tier and it's all very close. But that's my current personal preference, not from a strength perspective, but from a fun perspective. Tier list. Amy asks, Paul, is Knuckles the best? Yes. What is this music? I don't wanna have words on my stream. What is this? Okay. Anyways. Stream's getting sloppy at the end here. Zoe says, why did you remove the fact that when you grab a reversal, you do not counter hit anymore? I always thought that was goofy and weird. That was sort of just a byproduct of engine, but it never felt correct to me because it's not a counter hit. I mean, congrats on throwing them out of their armor frames, but the only time to throw someone as a counter hit is against armor frames, you know? So, I'm assuming it did get removed at some point. I think I might have added a special check at some point. I don't even know. I think I removed it. Anyways. Thank you all for a very interesting State of the Game stream. We are going to call it here. I will tentatively be back for development stream on Thursday night, but that might be the only night where I can meet up with my friend to give him our keys so that they can take care of our cat while we're at Combo Breaker. So, TBD. I do want to squeeze in probably one more stream before next week, so I'll let you know. And expect this to go on YouTube and the player survey to go out sometime this week, according to just when things come in. Definitely expect TLA to slow down for, I'd say, the next 4 weeks as I find my new footing in my new schedule and lifestyle. But I am still very committed to the game. Super excited for the offline events. Super excited for lots of stuff I have in the pipeline. But please be patient. If it seems like I disappear for a week or two, I'm still around. Just working in the darkness. Wonderful. Thank you all for playing the game. This is super cool. This has been a very... God, we've been live for a year and a half now, and it's been pretty wild. And if you know of a cool offline event that it would make sense for TLA to be at, whether it is a fighting game event or a developer conference, please feel free to DM me on Discord and tell me all about it. We're pumped. We want to do this more. Working in the darkness is gonna be your book quote. Okay, yeah, I'm ad-libbing too much. Time for bed. Ta-ta, everyone. This is good. This is good. Goodbye. Goodbye. Good night music. Okay. Now this is just gonna be embarrassing when it's on YouTube. Bye.